Hi everyone, I'm Shrey Agarwal and I'll be your instructor for this course. This course is called Introduction to Data Visualization. So today we'll talk about the basics of visualization. You do not need the software today. Today will be more of an introduction, more of a session which will introduce to the world of visualization, the do and don'ts, the principles of visualization, how to use the software, the features of the software, and so on and so forth. Right? So let's start. So why do we use Tableau? So we use Tableau to show data in a way which is much more comprehensive, in sense which gives and comprehensible. So comprehensive and comprehensible are two features which we will explore, and we will will try to use as much as we can. Comprehensive in sense you can show multiple things together. You can tell a story out of number, and comprehensible because it is easier to understand graphically. It helps you induce thinking about the substance, since when you make a graph, it will tell you about trend, it will tell you about highs and lows of the data point, it will tell you about cross-sectional, subsectional things, it will also tell you about relationship between couple of parameters which is not visible to human eye at one go. You can present many numbers in a small space. So different parameters, different variables, combination of multiple variables can be presented in a small space. What I mean by small space, in a single dashboard. Make large data set coherent. Encourage the eye to make comparison. Reveal data at several level of details. Now all these 3 points will come to see in a while. We'll come to know what they mean in a while. In simple word, you'll be able to drill down, break the data, slice the data, dice the data, and get into as much deep level you want graphically, and as much eagle eye view you want to know. So you'll be able to see a larger picture and also the finer granularity details. These are the 3 principles of visualization. Number 1. So what do we mean by principle of visualization? This is what or how visualization are based on. Or these are the salient features of visualization. So we need to understand that we do not perceive obsolete. What we mean by obsolete? That if you have one single component, we do not know the perception. To understand a perception, we always try to compare it with different objects. So if I tell you that, okay, you got 93 in your data visualization final project. Now that does not make much sense till I tell you got 93 out of 500, or you got 93 which is the top 5th score in the class, or 90% of your 95% of your batchmate have got 100%, you have got 93. Now these are the type of things which would allow you to understand things. Thus whenever we make visualization, we always try to have more than one variable, and we try to present differences or contrast. Our eyes are drawn to familiar patterns. We'll not try to make our dashboard very colorful and unique. We'll try to keep it general, which is comfortable, and we'll be able to, relate to the graphs which we are presenting. Memory plays a role in cognition, but our working memory is limited, right? So if you put a lot of things in a dashboard, lot of graphs, lot of charts, lot of numbers, lot of labeling, what happened? People would not be able to remember what they see, neither will they be able to comprehend. So it's very simple to keep it simple and always only provide appropriate and required information. So good analytical design allows human to process higher quantity of information, more dimension of information, and multiple perspective. Now what do you mean by higher quantity of information? So in case if I give you a table which says the sales of a retail store for say last 1 year, you'll not be able to even remember the sale of last 5 days or 6 days, neither you'll be able to see a pattern. But if I draw the same thing in a graphical form, you'll have a better perception, and you can obviously make small chunks of the graphs, or maybe chunks of timeline, and say that okay, these are the time when you see dip in sales, this is the time when you see increase in sales. This is how your sales is related to say the discounts which you offer, and so on and so forth. More dimensions of information. It is not only 2 dimension and a X and Y. We'll see that how can we bring in, say, more than 2 dimension, 3 dimension by using a color, 4 dimension by using a shape, 5th dimension by using a size, and so on and so forth, right? So we'll see how can we in one single graph use multiple dimensions, multiple features, multiple attributes with multiple parameters to make a graph looks much more comprehensive. Multiple perspective, of course, if 2 person looks at a graph, they will look at the graph differently. Their perception would not be same. Thus, using one single graph, you can show multiple perspective, right? That is, you can generate multiple information, right? Can someone tell me what is this graph trying to talk about? What is this representing? Okay, so in simple term, we are trying to understand month wise. So Sanjeev is saying that it's showing orders per region. So Sanjeev is saying that it is showing that how orders are changing per region. Regions are central, east, south, and west. Yasir is saying that it's showing sales across time. Anurag is saying that it is showing sales for the whole year. Sanjeev is saying that it's showing sales order per region monthly. And Yasir is again saying that it's showing sales across time by region. So predominantly most of you are on the same page, but the perception is different for most of you. You can further analyze that it's also trying to show that towards the end of the year, there's a peak increase in sales, especially for the region like central, east, and south. However, west, it is the peak in sales starts bit earlier compared to other 3 regions. Similarly, there's a plateau or the dip in sales after the first 2 or 3 months of the year. However, it is central and south which also see a small peak starting from April, which continues till somewhere in September, October, and then start decreasing, which is not in the case of east, wherein there is no decrease but there is an increase in amount of sales, right? So these are also various parameters or various things we'll be able to analyze using the same. Now what is this trying to show? Right, so this is a similar chart, but what I have done, instead of showing the regions in different blocks, I have put all the regions together. Thus you can compare it. So you are seeing that this green and blue lines are having a peak in the month of May. So green is south and central region is having a peak in the month of May, while towards the end, it is only the eastern region which is seeing an increase in sale, while others are seeing a dip in sales. So this is how we can use 2 different graphs which are similar in nature, use similar attributes to show different data, right? Similarly, you can show a table and show one small chunk of the data. We are trying to see that how in June the southern part of the sales area represent, and then we go on a higher quantity. We show multiple things. We show monthly sales by region and by product category. We show budget versus actual sales. What was my budgeted sales and what is my actual sales for each type of product. Then sales by state, and that is also by type of that is also by region, right? And then marketing and sales amount. How does marketing and sales are related? If marketing investment increases, does your sales increase or not? And then what is your product sales in descending order, right? Any doubts till now before we move forward? So Sanjeev, I have a question. Do we talk about x-axis first and y-axis? Sanjeev, depend. People generally talk about x and then y, but if you can mention what you're talking about and then talk in any way, it is acceptable. Okay. So there's a person called Tufte, and on his principles, the entire visualization theories are based. Number 1 is called minimize life factor. Let's see. Now anybody what is minimized life factor or what is life factor? So life factor is nothing but drawing graph in a wrong ratio. So for example, I'll just try to show this. So for example, if I draw a box and say this is the sales for this week, which is 10, and draw a bigger box. And say the sale is 40. Okay. So anybody, what is the problem with this kind of presentation? So this is 10 units of sales per hour. This is 40 units of sales per hour. What is, am I right or am I wrong in this visualization? So Aditya is saying it's not proportionate. Sanjeev is saying it is not true representation. Sumita is saying it occupies space. Sanjeev is saying yes, size wise it's not a true representation. Yasi is saying incorrect representation of size of the box. The bigger the box should be 4 times that larger. Right. So this is the problem. So if this is 10 and this is 40, the area of this box should be 4 times the area of this box. Right. Or something which is a true representation. You must have seen all this kind of drawings in newspaper and everything else to basically miscreate or basically create an illusion to show that yes, the economy is not so bad or the situation is not so bad and so on and so forth. So we never do this and try to decrease the life factor using our graphical integrated rules. Use consistent scale. So on if x-axis you are using a scale which represent a year which starts from say 1901 and comes up to year. If it is every year 1901, 1902, 1903, 1904, so the scale should be consistent with a year gap. It cannot be 1901, then 1902, then 1903, then 1910, then 1912, then 1913, and then 1918. This cannot happen. It have to have a consistent scale. Standardize the monitor value. So if you again make a graph showing rupees, pound, euro, yen, yuan in one same graph, try to standardize the currency value or use a similar transformation pattern accepted worldwide. Please do not show in one single graph multiple scales. So what is data to ink ratio? I'll just try to show you. So if this is my chart and this is my graph, something like this. And I'll make a complete box out of this. And the next bar is like this. This is my graph. What I tend to do sometime is I fill the background with some colors, right? I try to fill the background say with some yellow color or something like this. Now what happened here, you see the ink is more and data is less. That is, you have used a lot of ink and I'll try to fill this and make a checks and all this thing. So the ink is less and the data is more, which is wrong. You should always have more data and less ink. And what do you mean by that? You should give more weightage to data rather than background and colors and trying to fill the background with some designing stuff and all this. That is not a good property of visualization. Okay. The second principle is called show multivariate analysis. That never show one variable. Try to show more than one variable. There's no fun or there's no essence by showing just one variable. You should have 2 or more than 2 variables. Integrate the evidence. Whenever you make a chart or graph, please put title, date, number, diagram name. Try to put few evidence to show that your graph is factually correct. Any image you use or table you use in the graph, please annotate the amount. For example, if there's a huge peak in sales, you can circle that amount and put an arrow and say that highest sale of the year or lowest sale of the year, kind of, right? The next one is you should make visualization which is intuitive enough, right? Not something wherein I would need somebody help to understand the graph. It should be self-explanatory. And also never assume that I would know. For example, if you are making a sales figure for India and you do not mention the currency and you assume, oh, this guy would know, it's very, very common. Never do that. Please mention INR or make that rupee symbol. So these are a few questions we ask while discussing or when developing a dashboard or a Tableau chart. Which technology to use, which font to use, how large should the data set, and which all colors to be used. Any doubts here, please read this. The goal of data visualization is to tell a story without telling lies, of course, which we talked about right now. Data analysis is a cognitive problem. We are building visualization to assist human with cognitive process, helping them to make decisions, make strategies, understand data, and take out inferences out of it. Influence decision. Sometimes we'll not be able to find out something through naked eyes. So just to make sure that my decision is right and influence the decision by supporting evidences, we use, visualization. And we should try to use ethically, because if it can show a right side of a thing, it can also show a wrong side of a thing. So we should be very, very careful when we use a visualization tool or when we develop a visualization dashboard. Okay, what make a visualization type fit for purpose? So first thing, it starts with finding a fit between type of data you have, the kind of relation and comparison you are presenting, the number of dimension categories you need to tell a story. First, you need to understand your data set, what type of data it is, what is the domain it is from, what are the basic charts required, what is the demand of the data, and how are different variables in data related. Are they related or not? Can it be related in different manners, right? And if you have to present something, which are the essential variables required from that particular data set? Which are the parameters required? Do I need to calculate something before I present something? So these are the type of answers you should be able to give before you start. Quantitative and qualitative information. What is quantitative? Numbers like counts, profit, revenue, anything which is arithmetic or mathematical in nature is called quantitative. Anything which are non-mathematical are qualitative. Text based data, data which are numerical but does not require calculation, and so on and so forth. What is this? Anybody? Is it a qualitative data or a quantitative data? So most of you are saying it is both. Okay. Let's see. This is more of a quantitative data because it's showing me sales across quarter for two type of revenue channel. We'll see this, right? So this is one we can talk about. You can, if you flip the graph and put direct and indirect here and Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 as color, then it will become a categorical thing. Right. Basics of data. You should only, as I told you, when you should only choose to make a table, not a graph, when you will use it for lookup for particular values. When you want to compare individual to individual, not group or not aggregate on a certain level. When a very high level of precision is required. When quantitative information is to be provided, involves more than one unit of measures. That is, if you wanted to show me sales across time, across date, along with profit and so on and so forth. When you require both summary and details. So there are two types of relationship, quantitative to categorical and quantitative to quantitative. Right. So this is quantitative to categorical. So I have name of salesperson versus the amount of money or sales they have done. Right. So this is what? Quantitative to qualitative. Now what I have done, I have created few more parameters. So between one set of quantitative and intersection of multiple categories. So this is again quantitative to categorical, but multiple quantitative to one single categorical. Similar one, but if that was cross section, this is in a hierarchical form. Qualitative to qualitative to qualitative to quantitative. Now this is similar as this, but the purpose here is different. So if you see salesperson Jan, Feb, March, and if you see salesperson Jan, Feb, March, the only thing is here we are trying to understand few things. I have highlighted few numbers, like I have highlighted one, just a second. So I have highlighted few numbers. Number one is this one, which is showing me the highest sales by who have done the highest sales in the month of Feb. Similarly, it's also showing me the how is Steve, performance in the month of Feb. So here what I have done, I have highlighted few values. Thus the table are same, but the purpose just have become different because I have highlighted few blocks. So what we have done here, we have one categorical data, but we have multiple quantitative data which is derived from each other. So this is first one is year to date sales. This is year till date sales expenses and then net sales. So this minus this would give you this result, right? So this is again a way of representing a data. So again, why we should have table? Table are important, which can be a form of a dashboard. Now this is how we end our presentation, the PPT. Now we'll go to the software and we'll see how to use the software, and then we'll take up few questions from you, right? This is a data set of World Bank indicators, wherein I have a lot of indicators from World Bank and we are trying to make different graphs. So we'll make few for you and try to show you. But before that, I'll explain you the entire dashboard. What is the entire thing all about? So in case you have installed Tableau, great. If you have not, it is very easy to install. You can go to the website tableau.com and then so you have this Tableau 9.0. I have not seen this right now, but if you want, you can download the Tableau 9.0 desktop version. So I will not download it right now. So I would prefer it to be downloaded after the class. So what I'll do is I'll pause this for, where is my, so I'll pause this for some time. Right. So when you talk about Tableau 9.0, it is similar to, Tableau 8.2, which I am using, or which many of you would have used in your, or must have seen. Now, what is new in Tableau 9.0 is, so the starting page is different. So you can, it looks much more, stylish, and you can have training videos on one side. It shows you the visualization of UV. It shows you additional feature. Otherwise, everything else is same, right? You can have training. You can see training videos and visualization at one click. So you have a bit of more formatting options here and more of analytics option also. Most of my presentation is based on Tableau 8.2. However, I'll try to use Tableau 9.1 also, so that if you all want to download the Tableau 9, I won't mind using it, but you can do a lot of analytical things also here, and you'll be able to automatically see that it's just drag and drop for analytics part. So you can draw average lines, median and quartiles and everything automatically. So this gives you a better option of putting an additional feature on your dashboards. So similarly, the moment you select some data, it will be able to show you how that data is changing or how that data can give you a separate insight. So basically I can break a data set into smaller pieces of in a larger dashboard or in a larger graph and see it in details. We'll also talk about this again. So this tooltip was there, but the fast mark tooltip was not there, that you keep on moving, you'll get a lot of details. So this is again a new feature addition. So this is why these are the new addition in Tableau 9. Similarly, you can directly calculate something in the row on the pills bar, that wherein you don't have to write a formula, but you can directly calculate it on the fly while you are writing something. You can just type here rather than making a calculated field and dropping it in the pill bar, right? Similarly, you will be able to see is your calculated valid or not directly on the page, rather than by first making a chart and then getting it validated. You'll be able to see it directly, and you will also be able to see who reviews and all directly. So we'll take this also in details when we talk about Tableau 9. Okay, I have not talked about this. I've shown you this, right? I've shown you this feature, right? Even I've shown you this features also. I'm so sorry. Okay, analytics part is done. So the map again has become smarter. You just type a name of a city and you can zoom into that city rather than going and finding that city and zooming it manually. Similarly, you'll be able to scroll in, drag and drop faster, make a circle, cut a part of the area, and do a lot of things on the graph. The census data of US has been uploaded and more global data is present. Similarly, you can make pivot table very fast, and also you can split the pivot table by just dragging or making a small box or selecting anything, and you can again drill down in that pivot by making pivot of pivot and again pivot of pivot. Similarly, you can you'll be able to change the name of variables directly when you copy the variable, and it will also, you can also define the variable directly, right, while uploading the data. So you say the Tableau detects your data range and remove extracting title, text, images, temp, messy spreadsheet with just a click of mouse. Basically, it tries to make your data much more cleaner. Here you can directly rename your file, and you can talk about what type of variable it is. Are they interaction variable? Are they qualitative variable or quantitative variable, and so on and so forth, right? You can also make a split pivot table and merge couple of tables directly, couple of Excel sheets, basically like a join and so on and so forth. You can directly open your SAS, SPSS and R file in Tableau and thus use them with data sources to represent your Tableau SAS or SPSS output on Tableau screen, which is graphically much more powerful. Similarly, you'll be able to do this with Big Data Engine. The further enhancement is on server side, which is not of our interest as of now. Okay, So my Tableau would look like this, much more simpler. It does not have that analytics uh, tab because it's Tableau 8.2. Let me know which one you are using, and then we will be able to we will, all of us will use the same version. Today it's much more of an orientation class. We'll talk about each of the parameter in more details, and we'll see each of these features. We'll go into each of these features, each of these actions, each of these analytical approaches in greater detail starting tomorrow. Today is much of an exposure to you guys and to show you how Tableau works, right? Tomorrow we'll do basic charts. We'll first make a box plot, or maybe we'll make a bar chart and then a line chart and a scatter plot chart. We'll start from the scratch. So we'll try to make basic charts, but I'm not going to tell you how to I'm not expecting you to make along with me. It's just more of a demonstration so that you have an idea about what all we can do. So this is more of a stacked bar chart where I'm showing passengers car sales for different month, region wise, and you can of course say we can do a lot of things out here. So we can sort this, yeah, so that can be done. So you can sort it in a way you feel like, or you can put a sorting here. Yeah, and make it look better. So that is what you can do. You can move over, take region and put it in labels and see where these regions are, but this looks very tacky. Will not do that. And lot more stuff out here, right? Similarly, I have a second chart which is more like a heat map, which is more like a heat map, which says on which region for which year was my average military expenditure high. So the color shows the military expenditure as percentage of total government expenditure. Darker the color, darker military expenditure as percentage of global government expenditure, but the size of the box would show military expenditure as percentage of the GDP, right? So there are two things which I'm trying to show here. Basically a lot of things over the year, how the military expenditure has changed. Military expenditure as percentage of government expenditure and as a percentage of GDP, right? Similarly here what I'm trying to show are a lot of other things. I'm trying to show, so my color would be showing me that air passengers travel by number, how many passengers are traveling. So I see that my red would be lower and dark blue would be greater. So if I see my American cities are places where I see the maximum number of air passenger traveling, right, which is my color, air passenger traveling. So if you see here the blue one, something like 40.8 million, here it is 20.6 because it is less. If you go to lower red countries, it will be much more less. So the darker the blue is, so here is my color coding, it's showing air passengers travel. However, the size is showing me something else. The size is showing me the urban population. The maximum urban population is it in Asia. However, maximum air travel is in America despite having lower urban population. So it talks about two different things out here, and this is what is the magic or say good thing about this plot, right? We'll be doing all this in details in coming classes, so don't worry, right? So again here I'm trying to show over the year how the population count has changed. So this is population count and this is over the year. There are two things. The color shows the regions and the size shows the air passenger, right? Similarly, what I'm trying to see here, bank per 100,000 adults and ATM. So I'm seeing bank and ATM along with across regions using color, and the size is showing me mobile phone subscriber. So if you see, this is how if the bank increases, it also shows that the number of ATM also generally increases. However, there is also a relationship with mobile phone subscriber, that after a certain limit of banking transaction, the number of mobile subscriber also increases. So that is also, we are looking at these details. We are looking at we're trying to put relationships. We'll try to stabilize relationship between various factors. However, this is not very clear to us right now. We will try to polish this up and make it much better in our classes to come. Right, this is again similar thing. I'm trying to show multiple data points here, and here I have filters which allows me to see multiple data set, and I have quick filters type. Again, here what I'm trying to show two variables together, GDP per capita and GDP, and the color would show something called the health expenditure as percentage of GDP. Greener are higher expenditure and red are lower expenditure. The star, this symbols are different region. So this big cross is which is European country have a higher say what we call it, higher health expenditure, and the size shows higher life expectancies. So more the expenditure, the higher the expectancies, people you tend to live more. So that is also shown in this graph. And this is a bubble chart which again talks about import as percentage of GDP over the year across region. Right? We'll talk about all this in greater details in classes to come. We'll take up each of this graph and understand what they mean and what this is all about. Okay, we'll take up some questions which are here in the chat box. So Yasi is asking, downloaded version would be enough. Yes, it should be enough. No need to install Tableau public. Pramod, we'll talk about the menu items right now. I wanted to stop for 5 minutes and then we'll talk about. Okay, now is the time to explore the menus. So this is the file menu where you have normal file details. There's one thing which is called exported packaged workbook. Whenever you send a Tableau file to somebody, please do exported packaged workbook, because the data set which you are using would also go along with it. Otherwise, the person would not be able to see the graph because he will not have the underlying data set. Right? Simply, you can also import your workbook in different format. Right? But it is always better to do exported packaged workbook. Data allows you to connect to various sources. Here you can connect to Access, Excel, CSV file, and different things. Similarly, there are multiple data sources: Cloudera, Analytics, Google BigQuery, Hadoop, Hive, MapR, SQL, Microsoft SQL Server, Power Pivot, Oracle, SAP, SAS, PostgreSQL, and other ODBC. You can connect easily. It also allows you to make relationship between multiple data sets and data sources. You can create new worksheets, or you can just come here and click here to create a new worksheet. Your choice. So these are dashboards. So you can create a new dashboard. We'll talk about this module 5th or 6th. Here you can again storyboard. Analysis can be created here. What are basically percentages, percentage of total, row wise addition, column wise addition, forecasting, trend lines. So we'll go through all this in our advanced analytics 1 or advanced visualization 1. Maps will go, say, in the third week from now, a third class from now, we'll talk about maps. These are used for, designing for your dashboard. We'll also look into it. And these are the button. This is a save button. This is connect to data source, the data source you are connecting. This is to add a new worksheet dashboard. So you want to add something here, right? You want to duplicate a sheet here. So just click here, pause the connection. You can just pause the connection. And then this is for different filters. If you do not, for example, if you just do not want the column shelf, or say the row shelf, or say the page shelf, or say the things, if you don't want to display all this, you can just click here and unclick here. These are not used much, but just for your reference. I'll bring everything back. Okay, this is a highlighter to highlight some data point you want to highlight, and this is a presentation mode. Here you will get all your graph styles. These are things we will talk about later. Again, this is the area where I'll just show you one. This is the area where we'll play with. Here we'll drop our fills, the variables, column and rows. Here we can drop filters. This would take care of the marks. So here we'll have a lot of option to see, change color, size, put in detailing, and so on and so forth. So we'll come to this all in when we do this session in detail. Right? So this would be all from my side for the day. Let me know if you have any questions. We can take it right now. I'll be online for some time. However, I'll unshare my screen. See you tomorrow for the 3-hour session and real action. Thank you. Have a nice day, guys.